Fear is always going to be a contender in your life. That's the bad news. The good news is I am going to show you today how to make fear your friend. So sometimes people say things such as, I want to be fearless. I want to have no fear. I never want to be afraid again. I want you to really think about that. Is that sensible? Is that intelligent? Is fear always a bad thing to have? Okay. You may have heard the acronym FEAR, FEAR, which stands for false evidence appearing real. So let me ask you this. If I was to just suddenly be standing outside your house, that would be creepy, right? Outside your door, and I knocked on your door and I had a big, huge box in my hands. And I said to you, here you go, there's something in this box. And I handed this big box to you and I told you that inside this box there was a big, huge, long 6 foot snake with a lot of poisonality. That's a bit of a joke. And there was also a big, huge, hairy, 8-legged spider that was always posting way too much on the web. Okay. Now, what would you do with that box, with that 6 foot spider, with that 6 foot snake, and that 8-legged spider? Okay. I want to ask you this. Do you feel a little afraid? Is there any fear coming into this? Okay. If you said yes, if you be afraid of a big spider or a big snake, where is that fear coming from? Okay. Because as I said, it is false evidence appearing real. First of all, there is no spider, there is no snake. This was an imaginary situation, right? Okay, I'm not really standing outside your front door right now. Okay, so you can relax, it's all good. Okay, but you still possibly felt a bit of fear, imagining a big, huge spider and a big, huge snake being in your vicinity. Now, why was that? Because we tend to imagine things, and that is when we feel the fear. Most of the time, it's not in fact real, and most of the time, you are doing 2 or 3 different things. You are, one, blowing things way out of proportion. Okay, so in other words, you're making the picture really, really big. So you're not imagining a tiny, tiny spider. You're actually imagining this huge, gigantic, enormous spider. Now, if you're imagining a big, huge, gigantic spider, of course you'd feel afraid, right? But it's not real. It's simply in your imagination. Another thing is, what we often tend to do is often tend to imagine horror stories. We imagine sad stories. We imagine these really big thrillers with these terrible, depressing endings. Okay. All by you using your imagination. You start to imagine these horror stories and they have a negative, bad ending. Now, if you're going to imagine a story, make up a story with a bad ending, then of course you're going to feel bad, right? Okay. So most of the time, fear is simply false evidence appearing real. It's simply something that you've blown up in your mind, and most of the time it's out of proportion. Okay, so sometimes fear is practical. Fear is relevant. Fear is useful in the right moment. Fear can help you and can save you. If you suddenly have a saber-toothed tiger on your heels, it's good to be alerted of that. It's good that you get a little bit of a, I better get away from that. It alerts you of danger so that you get your groove on and you can get running and moving as fast as possible away from it. You may have heard about fight or flight. Now, as a martial artist, I know a lot about fight or flight as I taught a lot of self-defense. And it's the exact same with your mind. Think about it. Fight or flight is simply this. In fact, it's actually fight, flight, or freeze. And it works like this. When you perceive a threat, your body will go into fight, flight, or freeze. So in other words, you will either attack, fight, you will either flight, as in run away, or you will either freeze. Now, why does that happen? It happens because when the threat comes along, you feel this fear and it starts to flood your body with adrenaline. Now, the purpose of that is very clever, that this adrenaline goes into your big limbs, your arms and your legs, primarily your legs and your arms, and it rushes away from your organs, okay, your main organs, to give you momentarily extra power in your legs and your arms so that you can either fight or flight. You can either fight or run away. Now, the problem is if you don't react very, very quickly, because your body can't stay like that too long, flooding your limbs with all this blood, you'll get lightheaded and you get dizzy and your heart is pumping and all the rest. What happens is you go into freeze. Okay, and you actually become paralyzed with fear. It's a bit like the rabbit caught in the headlights effect. So you got to take action really, really fast. Now, it's exactly the same in a scenario which is not physical. So in other words, we have many threats that are not physical. Now, luckily for a lot of us, our threats are not essential, vital threats, or matter of our survival. So what happens is your mind, your brain, because we still have our reptilian brain and our primary brain working along there to protect us and keep us safe, it's still looking out for danger. So instead of looking out for danger, as in if we're lucky enough not to be in a war-torn country or with imminent danger on our heels, it will look out for anything to keep us safe that it perceives as danger. So imagine this scenario. Let's say you procrastinate, which I'm sure you've never done. I'm sure you have the motivation to go and study, to go and work, to go up and exercise, to do whatever it is that you want to do, okay? But let's say you didn't, okay? You know I'm messing. We all have those moments where we tend to want to sit on the couch and procrastinate, right? Or we want to stay in bed that little bit longer. What happens? What happens? Let's say you wake up one morning, you're lovely and cozy in bed. And outside, the wind is howling and you really don't want to get up and do what you got to do that day. And it's too nice and cozy in bed. Let's say the night before you had said to yourself, you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to get up when the alarm goes off at 7 o'clock. I'm going to get up and go and take action straight away. It's going to be different tomorrow. Okay? So you decided that in your mind. The morning comes. So you set the command. You told your brain, okay, what you wanted to happen. The morning comes, the alarm goes off. Let's say you don't take action straight away. Let's say you stay there for a couple of moments and you're going, oh, but it's really cozy here in the bed. What is happening inside your mind right now? What do you think is happening? Let me tell you. Your subconscious mind is actually going like this. It's going, hey, but, he said, she said that they were going to get up straight away. Why is he or she waiting? What are you procrastinating over? Why are you stalling? Hey, why is he stalling? There must be something out there. That's why he must be stalling, because he said or she said he was going to do such and such, but he's not actually doing it. So there must be danger. So now it starts to look out for danger because it thinks you're stalling because you're watching out for danger. So it thinks that there's a threat out there. So it's going to look for a threat. And remember, if you watched my previous videos, you will understand, right, that your mind wants to please you. So it's looking for evidence to prove you're right. So it's starting to look for threats. Now, we may not have the saber-toothed tiger under the bed, but maybe there's something else that it can latch onto. It can search around and maybe it can find something else, or many other things, such as, the weather's bad. Oh, I'm going to be late anyway. Oh, it's going to be a waste of time to go into school, to work, whatever I got to do. Oh, sure, there's nothing nice for breakfast. Oh, my clothes aren't ready for getting up today. Oh, it's too cold to get out of bed. Whatever it is. And it's going to find anything that it can perceive as a threat, because we don't maybe have the same type of threats, as a threat. So it's going to see those, latch onto those, and put all those thoughts into your mind. And suddenly your mind would be flooded by thoughts of, oh, there's no point in going in any way today because I'm not going to do well. Oh, there's no point, it's going to be a really bad day. Oh, there's no point, I know I'm going to feel dreadful. Oh, there's no point because it's just too cold and I'm going to feel miserable. And all these thoughts are going to come flooding into your head, and you're just going to stay in bed. Why? Because you procrastinated and you hesitated. And there's a great saying in martial arts that I love, which is, he who hesitates, think about it, he who hesitates meditates in a horizontal position. Okay, now that's very relevant to the physical. If you're protecting yourself with self-defense physically, he who hesitates meditates in a horizontal position. It is also extremely relevant for you in your life, in your everyday life. So think about it. Procrastination will cause your brain to think that there's a threat. It looks out for danger. It'll find something because it's got to prove you right. It's got to satisfy you. It'll find anything to latch onto, to give it back to you. You hear those thoughts inside your head, and you become less and less motivated to go and do whatever it is that you said you wanted to do. And this can go for anything. This can go for absolutely any part of your life. So instead, what you got to do is a little bit similar to what we did in a previous exercise, in a previous video. We did the 3, 2, 1. And this time you're going to do it to take action again. So you're going to say something like, the minute the alarm goes off, you're going to say to yourself, 3, 2, 1, up. And just simply get up. And you can apply that to any aspect of your life. You got a momentary moment. You've got a couple of moments before your body gets flooded with adrenaline and you go into flight mode. Okay, so you got to take action immediately, and that is very empowering. So fear is generally false. You're going to create these thoughts because your mind will want to prove you right and want to help you. It thinks it's protecting you. It thinks it's looking out for danger, but it is not always beneficial. So remember that it is in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. So my suggestion for you today is to simply go and take action right away, right now, without procrastinating, without waiting. Say 3, 2, 1, let's go.